Hey guys, welcome back to Fantasy Tip. My name is Julian, and we're going to go over some players that you can consider dropping from your team in week 7 of the fantasy hockey schedule. Before we get started, guys, please leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I would really appreciate the support. Before we get started, guys, I just want to tell you that every single player that I'm going to talk about in this video was not talked about in last week's video. I got kind of tired of mentioning the same players over and over week by week. So if you want to see the players that I talked about dropping last video, they are still relevant and definitely should still be dropped in your pools. I'm going to put it up right there. Jumping in to the first forward on the list, guys, Dylan Larkin, Detroit Red Wings, 65% owned, and right now he's injured. The Wings hope to have him back next week, but he's not on IR. So if you don't have any IR plus spots in your league, you're kind of holding on to them being like, oh my God, it really sucks to hold on to right now. In those kind of leagues, if you're in a little bit of a shallower league, you can absolutely drop Dylan Larkin. He hasn't been that great anyway, and he doesn't play for a very good team. In deeper leagues, though, I would hold on to him and wait it out. Next is Nino Niederreiter, Carolina Hurricanes, 52% owned. And I actually had suggested adding this guy a couple weeks back, saying that he is a temporary add as long as he's hot. Well, he's not really hot anymore. It's not like he's on the top power play either. There's no real reason to keep him on your team. Next is Brandon Tanev, Pittsburgh Penguins, 34% owned. He's currently third in the entire league in hits. So if you're in a league that counts hits, absolutely keep him on your team. But he's 34% owned. I can't imagine he's owned in hitting leagues in all 34% of those leagues. If you're not in a league where hits count, what are you doing having Tanev on your team? You absolutely should drop him right away. Next is Andrew Kopp, Winnipeg Jets, 34% owned. And he's now playing on the third line now that Pierre-Luc Dubois is playing top two lines. So his value went down a significant amount. He's still getting second power play time, but to me that's not really enough to warrant having him in 34% of leagues. Next is Matt Duchene, Nashville Predators, 32% owned, and he only has 8 points through 22 games this year. He's really not playing well, no matter where they put him in the lineup. I wouldn't hold on to him anymore at this point. Next is Evgeny Dadonov, Ottawa Senators, 27% owned. He's not doing a whole lot of anything, and Ottawa's actually playing pretty well, so if you can't even play well when your team is doing well, I don't like owning you. You can drop Evgeny Dadonov. Next is Denis Gurianov, Dallas Stars, 25% owned, and he's also not doing a whole lot of anything. Dallas is also not doing that great as a team right now. Dallas's power play also seems a little bit all over the place. Gurianov looks like he's on the top unit, but Radilov's going to come back very soon. So Gurianov is probably going to be popped off that top unit anyway, so there's really no reason to hang on to him. Next is Ryan Johansson, Nashville Predators, 12% owned, and as if he hadn't been playing bad enough, he's now been added to the COVID list. So at this point, guys, just like I said with Duchene, there's no reason to hang on to Johansson. My last two guys on this list are Eric Staal and Jeff Skinner, and neither of these guys deserve to be over 10% owned. Come on. Jeff Skinner was just benched for 3 games, and he's just playing terrible hockey. And Eric Stahl's not playing on Buffalo's top power play, so anybody not on Buffalo's top power play is really not worth owning. Jumping into some defensemen now, first on the list, guys, is Ben Chiarot. And please don't roast me for this. Ben Chiarot is an amazing player to have in categories leagues. He actually leads the league in penalty minutes. He shoots a good amount, he blocks some shots, and he hits a good amount. So if you're in a categories league with those categories, you absolutely should hang on to Ben Chiarot. And actually, if you're in a categories league and he's on your waiver wire, you might actually want to add him. But if you're in a points league, a more points-oriented league, I definitely would not have Ben Chiarot on your team because he only has 5 points through 20 games. Next is Ryan Graves, Colorado Avalanche, 27% owned, and this guy was super owned to start the season. I think it was over 60% owned, and his ownership percentage has declined every single week, and there's a reason for that. Last year, his plus-minus was the best in the league. It was over plus 40, and this year, it's a -4. He's just not playing the same kind of hockey, and there's really no reason to have him on your team. Next is Mackenzie Weegar, Florida Panthers, 18% owned, and he's actually being picked up a lot right now. But the thing is, he's not getting any power play time in Florida. I do get that he gets a lot of ice time, so he's not the worst ad in the world in the very, very deepest of leagues as long as he stays hot. But the reality of the situation is his production right now is a little bit unsustainable, and it will slow down. Next is Michael Del Zotto, Columbus Blue Jackets, 18% owned. And he was actually a pretty good ad earlier in the season while Werenski was hurt. But Werenski is healthy now, so Del Zotto's not really seeing any power play time anymore. There's no reason to hold on to him. Next is Eric Gustafson, Philadelphia Flyers, 10% owned. And it looked like he had a permanent place on Philadelphia's power play until a couple games ago when they decided to make him a healthy scratch. He's kind of in that weird gray area where if he plays, he's on the power play, and if he doesn't, he's a scratch. So honestly, I would drop him because they're scratching him. There's no reason to have him on your team. When they do end up re-adding him to the Philadelphia lineup, you can probably pick him up in the deepest of the league and hope that he gets you a power play point. Jumping into some goalies, first on the list, guys, is Yaroslav Halak, Boston Bruins, 59% owned, and I would not drop Halak in deeper leagues, but right now he's not doing so good, and Rask is starting more games than we initially thought Rask might start at the beginning of the season. Last year, Halak and Rask pretty much split the starts 50-50. Now it's starting to look like Halak's only going to get about 1 out of every 3 starts. If that's still good for you in your league, absolutely hold on to him. And he probably will end up getting about half the starts in the future. It's just right now, it looks like Rask's going to get a lot more starts than Halak is. Next is Braden Holtby, Vancouver Canucks, 50% owned, and it looks like Thatcher Demko is starting to pull ahead of him in both starts and performance. Demko is playing better and he's starting more games. At this point, Holtby is probably worth dropping and grabbing somebody else on your free agency that might get you a few more starts and a few more wins. Next is Mikko Koskinen, Edmonton Oilers, 48% owned, and last game he let in 3 goals on 10 shots. He was pulled after that first period, then Mike Smith proceeded to let in absolutely no goals for the rest of the game. That doesn't bode well for him, considering Mike Smith was already getting the bulk of the starts. You can safely drop Mikko Koskinen in Edmonton at this point. Next is Jack Campbell, Toronto Maple Leafs, 20% owned, and I don't really get why the ownership percentage is so high. I get the Leafs have a back-to-back situation, so maybe he might get one of those starts, but he's currently injured, so he may not even get one of those starts. I don't know what he's doing at 20% owned. Hopefully after that back-to-back, people will start dropping. Next is Alex Stalock, Edmonton Oilers, 12% owned. And what the hell is he doing above 10% owned? He's Edmonton's 3rd goalie. They just claimed him off waivers. He's definitely not going to be playing anytime soon. All right, guys, you've reached the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. I really appreciate it. Please leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a comment, ask me a fantasy hockey related question. I'll be happy to answer you. Until next time, guys, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you in the next episode of Fantasy Tipped.